Hello friends, my name is Michelle and today I am gonna be reviewing Frankissstein by Jeanette Winterson. Now, I'm gonna be talking about the plot, the characters, the issues that this book tries to tackle, and I'm also gonna be mentioning the transphobia that this book contains. Now, take that with a grain of salt because even though I have a very strong opinion on this, I'm still a cis white woman, so it's not like I have first-hand experience, and if there's a trans person watching this and they need to call me out because I'm saying something wrong or my opinion is wrong, I would love to hear and be educated on the topic. This is just what I took from this novel based on people I have known and books I have read, films I have seen, articles that I have encountered, okay? Thank you. So the first thing I want to talk about with Frankissstein is the plot. Now this is and also isn't a Frankissstein retelling. This is essentially two storylines running parallel through this entire book. The first one being set in the past and following Mary Shelley as she writes Frankenstein, the novel she is known for, and also struggles to navigate her time, which was in many regards very complicated, especially for women, and very problematic and difficult for women, as well as her relationship with her husband and trying to deal with the loss of her many children that she has either miscarried or lost at a very young age. The second storyline is set in present-day England and follows a trans doctor called Dr. Ray Shelley as he helps out his mad scientist friend with some new technology business, all the while dealing with your stereotypical white man who has made a fortune selling sex bots. That is the very gist of this novel. Now, these characters form a pretty well-established parallel in that you can literally mirror them. Every character in one of the stories has a perfect parallel in the other, which in one regard is easy, but that being said, what wanted to be done here was done, and I think Jeanette Winterson actually accomplished what she was trying to do with these parallels just in terms of characters and their counterparts. And the other thing that really brings these two stories together is the themes and the questions this book is trying to ask, which is your usual, have we fucked up Mother Earth completely? Who are we as people? Are humans the heart, the brains, or the body, or all of the above? And of course, most importantly, should we all just go and fuck a sex bot? That is really the one question this book is probably trying to ask. Should we all just have more sex? And would we be happier? Would we treat our planet better? Should we all just go do that? Are sex bots the devil? Is new technology the devil? That is the questions that this book is trying really hard to ask and answer. Whether it's done with grace, I guess it's up to opinion. To me, it doesn't. I mean, it does do it with grace in certain parts, and then it does it without any grace at all in other parts. That kind of brings me to Winterson's writing in general, because this book was nothing like I had read from her before. Not that I have read that many novels of hers, and I don't think I'm gonna be trying to change that after this book, to be fair, or at least not in the foreseeable future. But what I remember from her other novels that I have read is that her writing is very, well, not exactly flowery, but what I remember is that she has a very brilliant way of taking writing and taking words, making them bend to whatever way she wishes them to be. But this book is nothing like that. It's very blatant. It's very simple in its writing for the most part. It's very laid down for you, as if she wanted to educate you instead of trying to make you work for your knowledge. Now this also kind of brings me to her language that she uses with this novel, because I think she tried two very different approaches with each storyline, which is what pulls them apart, is that like as opposite to what keeps them together. Her language that she uses in these stories is what pulls them apart, because with Mary Shelley, she uses a lot of imaginative language. It's very atmospheric. It's more in depth. We are literally captured in a character's head here in these parts, whereas in the parts with Dr. Shelley in modern day England, the language is oftentimes very vulgar, crude. downright offensive, very sexist. So essentially what I'm saying is that with Mary Shelley, everything is hidden in layers. You have to really dig for it. Everything is hidden in the dialogue, whereas in the modern day storyline, it's not hidden at all. It's right in your face, which is also making a point in multiple ways, which I can appreciate. But in modern day, there's not a lot of depth, there's not a lot of room for imagination. It's all just very dialogue heavy, very offensive, very crude, and very vulgar. Now, I have no problem when literature is offensive or crude or over the top, because I do believe that literature should challenge you and should make you feel uncomfortable as far as it has a point. For example, the one thing that I did like about this novel was that Winterson really explained and showed sexism and misogyny in some ways that I don't think would be okay for a male writer to do. Because she uses feminist stereotypes, she uses a male character who is inherently really fucking sexist to a point where you're literally reading it and you think to yourself, this is fucking gross and people should not talk like this. But it's okay for her to do that, in my opinion, because she is a female. She has probably experienced at least one form of this behavior in her life, probably all of them and multiple times. What I don't think is okay, and what I don't think is okay for Jeanette Winterson to do here, to make me feel uncomfortable about, is for her to write transphobic characters, to write a main character that is so mistreated. Because here, listen to me, I'm gonna try really hard to remain calm, okay? Because here we get to the bone of it all, to the one thing that made me hate this book so much. Mary Shelley is a trans man, and first of all, do I see anything inherently wrong when Jeanette Winterson writing a trans male person as her first person narrative? Yeah, actually kinda, like, I don't mind it in general, but when you really look at the big picture, don't you think that there are so many trans men who write and who are probably literally starving to be published or recognized, and this is their story to tell. This is not Jeanette Winterson's story to tell at all, and it is not her place to be transphobic in any character that she introduces here. But believe it or not, it gets worse, because she has the audacity to go ahead and have her main character, who is a trans man, call himself a fucking hybrid. That literally comes out of this character's mouth as someone who identifies as a trans man, which Jeanette Winterson is not, goes ahead and says, I am a hybrid. Rye literally, I'm not comfortable actually. I'm not comfortable saying that Rye does this because it's Jeanette Winterson who makes him do these things. As the writer, she constantly has Rye using the word hybrid or saying things like, when I used to be a woman, or I am partially female, which just rubs me the wrong way for two reasons. One being that Jeanette Winterson is problematic as far as trans issues go, because as far as I know, the only two things that I have read from her online are, one, her very famous quote that trans youth shouldn't be able to get sex change because, hey, they might change their minds because they're not comfortable in their bodies, but hey, every teenager is uncomfortable. Everything is uncomfortable when you're a teenager. So obviously, trans youth should not get sex change at all. It shouldn't be permitted. And the other quote, which in my opinion is equally problematic, was her saying that the gender binary is very confusing and boring because she herself doesn't feel like female or male. She just feels like a creature, which to me just screams that she literally just compared trans people and non-binary people to being creatures instead of humans, because that's what she associates with anything outside of the binary. So why the fuck is she going off writing a trans man character? And why the fuck and how the fuck does this get on the Booker Prize lists? Like, how does that happen in this world? There is an incredible amount of genital talk in this book. There are multiple characters that ask Rye, have you had your sex change? What is in your pants? And the fact is that Jeanette Winterson never makes Rye object to any of these questions. There are also multiple instances where people out Rye all of a sudden, literally almost every character calls Rai by the wrong name, which goes from Ryan to Mary, which is his birth name that he was giving at birth, which he had legally changed. He is legally his legal name is Rai, yet 95% of the characters call him by the wrong name, and he never corrects them, aside from I think one instance when he says, "My name is Rai," which is somewhere in the first half of the novel and then gets never addressed again. This book also fails completely to explore anything gender-wise. The only thing we are talking about, like, oh, you're trans? Then you're the future because you got rid of your body and made something new for yourself. Like, is that really the narrative we want to take here? And is that really the means by which we want to explore new technology? What the fuck does transness have to do with feminism and new technology and sex bots? Personally, I don't see a connection there. Yes, trans people can be feminist. They don't have to be. They don't come hand in hand. And I think also that Jeanette Winterson literally does not know that there's a difference between being trans and being non-binary, because there are parts of the dialogue that read as a trans character where Rai says, "I'm a trans man," which he says a lot of times throughout the novel, but at the same time he also constantly says, "I am both, I am partially female, I feel like a woman, I feel like this and that, I am both, I encompass both genders." And I don't think Jeanette Winterson, which is probably the worst part, even realizes her own ignorance towards this topic. I don't think there was any research involved into writing this character beyond her own convoluted perceptions of what a trans person is supposed to be. The most horrific thing to me, which really just rubbed me the wrong way and was probably downright unforgivable for me in terms of how far her transphobia can go, is literally a person going, "When we fuck, I don't see you as a man. I'm not gay." To which Rai says, "Hey, but when we are out in public and people see us, they see you with a man." To which this person says, "But you don't have a penis." So, yeah, I know some people think that if you don't have a penis, you're not a boy, and if you don't have a vagina, you're not a girl. However, Jeanette Winterson has no fucking business writing these characters. No, honey. The only people who have the right to write these characters are trans women and trans men who share their experiences, and not some cis white lesbian trying to do something here in a way that's honestly short of fucking unfortunate. No, actually, it is fucking unfortunate. And the last thing that I want to address is in regards to the sexual assault towards the trans character, which happens in very graphic detail, which just literally made me wish that it wouldn't be out there in an actual readable novel, because this is beyond what you're okay to do as who you are, Janet, okay? Because the end result of this very graphic sexual assault is literally Rai crying outside a bar on the ground, thinking to himself, "This wasn't the first time, it wasn't the last time, because I made my decision to live my true life as my true self. I made this for myself." Which I probably will never understand the amount of rape culture that gets put into novels that should be opposite of this, and how much people overlook it because it's such a big part of our culture, that we somehow blame the victim, or we have the victim blaming themselves, which is fucked up on so many levels. I don't even know where to begin. That was just like the last straw, and I was like, I cannot believe I am reading this with my own two eyes, because honestly, no. That's my opinion on the entire way that Winterson mishandled and mistreated this trans character. Fucking gross is my opinion on that. I'll be linking some reviews that I found on Goodreads, including some reviews from trans people downstairs, so please go and check them out in case you think I am really just hallucinating and I read something else than everyone on the planet. So I'll be leaving that down below. Okay, thank you for checking it out if you do. That would be nice if you did. Okay, okay. I've calmed down. I think that's about it. I finally got it out. That really needed to happen. It's out there. Now I'm gonna go and read something else that was on the Booker long list. Just to convince myself, that the board of judges didn't just play a game of like, let me put on a blindfold and whichever book I touch with my forefinger is getting nominated, okay? I'm gonna do that with my time now because there has to be a good one. Thank you for your attention. Please don't stone me for having an opinion. That would be much appreciated. And I will see you next time. In true Ellen Ripley fashion, I am for now signing off.